My name is Angie Vosing, and I'm the president of the PACO, Paralegals Association of Central Ohio. Today is Thursday, October the 26th, 2023. Welcome to today's session of Legal Insights. Today, joining us is Sophia Chang of the Ohio Justice Foundation. Sophia is the pro bono director of the Ohio Access to Justice Foundation, where she collaborates with legal aids, the Supreme Court of Ohio, bar associations, and other organizations to grow local and statewide pro bono resources in Ohio. She formerly served as counsel with American Electric Power and as a staff attorney and magistrate with the Ohio Court of Claims. During her time at the Court of Claims, she presided over numerous pro se cases, including civil cases filed by inmates and victims of crime seeking compensation from the state. This experience highlighted the importance of and the great need for pro bono attorneys and led her to her current position. She's a triple Buckeye. She graduated from the College of Arts and Sciences, the John Glenn School of Public Affairs, and the Michael E. Moritz College of Law, all at the Ohio State University. Always good to have that representation there. Thank you for joining us today, Sophia, and I will turn things over to you so that you can get started.
Thank you so much, Angie, and thank you for inviting me to speak with your wonderful members of PACO. I am very excited to talk to you today. I understand it is lunchtime, so that may be why folks are off camera trying to eat lunch. But if possible, I would love to see your faces at some point during the presentation. I do, my presentation is a little bit more interactive than you may be used to. So I will be asking some questions to you, and I hope that you will feel comfortable in responding throughout. So thanks again for having me, and I'll go ahead and get started. I will preface this presentation is generally, I actually have presented to PACO once before using a very similar presentation. So if you've already seen part of it, I apologize for the repeat. But there is a lot of good information in here about opportunities for pro bono. But then I do want to also talk about maybe creating new opportunities for PACO members as we move forward. So let's get started. Just in case people are not familiar with the Ohio Access to Justice Foundation, we are the largest funder of legal aid in Ohio, and we are officially the state's Access to Justice Commission, recognized by the Supreme Court of Ohio a few years ago. And so we are constantly trying to improve access to justice and making sure that low-income and underserved Ohioans, that their needs are being met in terms of the justice system. I have been at the foundation for a little over 5 years, and since then we have created a lot of programs and that are innovative and new in furtherance of that mission. And if anyone here on the call has some ideas, please feel free to share them. We would be happy to think them through and perhaps work on creating a new program. So when people talk about civil legal services, a lot of times there are issues that don't naturally come to mind. So some of them come to mind very quickly. For instance, eviction, housing issues, and then things like DV, getting a civil protection order, or custody, or a divorce, things like that are generally thought of when you're thinking of civil legal services. But there are other areas that may not be thought about as quickly. And some of those are record sealing and expungement. And although these applications are related to criminal acts in the past, the actual sealing of the records is considered civil legal services. There's also helping children get individualized education plans and things like that, so they can be fully supported as they are going through school. We also help, or civil legal services also help veterans trying to get benefits and medical care, helping folks with substance abuse disorders get help and rebuild their lives. And then one thing that most people don't think about is community economic development, and that's something that we've recently have supported, and that's helping communities own their community and to help make it better for those living in the community. So one example of that is in Dayton. So there were legal aid attorneys who helped a community build a fresh grocery supermarket in the area. It's called Gem City Market, because they found that in their area, most people didn't have access to, healthy, fresh, not processed foods. And so they created this market, and it's been thriving. There's a lot of buy-in from the community, and the community has been developing and growing stronger because of it. And then all of these things help Ohioans, low-income Ohioans, just generally stabilize their lives. So to give you the background of what Ohio looks like with eligible clients for legal aid and other civil legal programs, there are almost 2 million Ohioans at or below 125% of the federal poverty level. And if you think about it, 71% of those 2 million, almost 2 million Ohioans, have faced a civil legal problem in the past year. And then 1 in 4 of those households have faced 6+ civil legal problems in the past year. And I don't know about you, but usually at this point, I tell folks to think about the civil legal problems that they've had to deal with in the past, and think about compounding that 6 times over within a year, and how difficult it would be to overcome those challenges, especially if you don't have access to a lawyer, or if you don't even recognize that this is something that can be addressed through a legal process. Oops. So I'm actually really curious, because I have this landscape of attorneys, but I'm curious, does PAYCO have any information about the paralegal landscape in the state? I'd be very interested in seeing that data.
As far as, I'm not sure what you're asking for, as far as the number of
Yeah,
paralegals?
the number and like where they are. I
Oh.
know this is Central Ohio, a Central Ohio group, but I just didn't know if that's something that you track, or if you
No,
know where I could get any of that data. That would be.
I am not aware of anyone who tracks that specific data. I can tell you that there is a paralegal association in Cincinnati, one in Cleveland, and also one in Northwest Ohio.
Okay,
in the Toledo area.
gotcha. Great. Thank you so much. So if you see here, very similar to where the paralegal associations are in the state, that's also where the concentration of most attorneys are as well. And so you see the three C's, then you have Dayton and Toledo, Akron and Youngstown in addition to those. So that if you look at the map on the right with the numbers, there is a general stat that 1 in 700 and one attorney per 700 people in the population is considered fully served in legal term or in legal issues. And so if you can see, there are actually only 7 counties in the state that have enough attorneys per population. And again, that's, Hamilton, Montgomery, Franklin, Cuyahoga, Lucas, Summit, and Mahoning. Everywhere else has a legal services deficit. And you can see that some counties only have one attorney. For instance, Fenton County has one attorney there who is able to do pro bono work. So this doesn't consider judges aren't able to do pro bono work outside of their regular legal position. And there are some other folks who work for the government and things like that who also aren't counted in this number. But you can see how some counties, even if they're even if that one attorney could take as many cases as they could, there would still be a lot of folks who would need legal services and not have them or have the opportunity to get them. So how do we try to bridge this gap? For us as a funder of legal aid, that's where we always, refer people first. There are 316 legal aid attorneys statewide. And last year, those 316 legal aid attorneys served almost 133,000 Ohioans. And that is incredibly impressive. That is a lot of work for 316 people. But here's another interactive part. If you remember, how many folks in Ohio qualify for legal aid?
Is it 2 million?
Yes, very good, Angie. Yeah, almost 2 million. And so if we fully relied on just legal aid attorneys to try to help those 2 million, it would be over 7,000 people per attorney, which is obviously impossible to meet. So I think all of you are very familiar with the legal aid in Central Ohio, Legal Aid Society of Columbus, and you may also be aware of Southeastern Ohio Legal Services, which is their sister organization down here in the red. And I know a lot of you also already volunteer for them through the PACO Wills Clinic, and I want to thank you all for having continually served senior clients in that way. It's just very, the clients are, just so happy for being able to have these documents prepared and be able to rest easier knowing that they are prepared. So, okay. One thing that the foundation also has started was something called Ohio Legal Help. And I think this is something that many people may not have heard of before, but it is a mobile first legal information portal. So what I want you to do now, and I can't see if you're doing it, but take out your mobile phone and type in to a browser ohiolegalhelp.org. And you'll see, and also on this slide, you'll see my beautiful arm holding a phone as well. So if you go here, you can see that there are all the categories of help that you may need for civil legal services. The way it's set up is kind of like a TurboTax form information gathering process to create a form or a final product, or to refer you to the services that you may need. So you can go in there and you can say, I need a divorce. They'll ask you, what county are you in? Do you have any kids? And these questions just to gather the information, and they can help you get the correct forms and even help you fill them out. They can also refer you to the legal aid in your area, and then they can also refer you to other legal referral services that's not legal aid if they don't qualify for legal aid. Ohio Legal Help, I think, serves over 700,000 a year. And it's a very, very good resource if you just need some quick legal information. And it's also for folks who don't have access to attorney, a way to kind of bridge that gap. Again, it's not legal. None of the information on Ohio Legal Help is considered legal advice. It's just legal information. But when you get a chance, you can play around on that and refer folks who may benefit from it to ohiolegalhelp.org. Just curious, has anyone here heard of it before today? Nope. Okay. Okay. So why pro bono? Oh, someone is in the chat. Okay. Yeah, they have not. So pro bono is really important, I think, especially for legal professionals. And I wrote an article for the OSBA about this, but even though there are a lot of good causes out there to give your time and money to, the one thing about legal professionals is that we have been trained in a certain way, and we have knowledge and things that the average person doesn't have knowledge in. So although we could, and I say this, I'm a big fan of Habitat for Humanity, so I'm not saying it's not to volunteer for them, but generally speaking, most people could volunteer for Habitat for Humanity and, help build a house. But not most people can give, information about how to complete a simple will, or what is a healthcare power of attorney, things like that. And so that's why it's so important for legal professionals to invest time into pro bono. So one of the reasons here is just advancing the profession. Also, I think people in the legal field get a bad rep generally because justice is slow, and justice is not accessible for everyone. And so by being able to provide these services for folks, it does help bolster the profession in a special way. So also, we make a difference for sure. I don't have the hours for paralegals, and I'm actually curious again too if there's any reporting or anything like that on the paralegal side, but for last year, for attorneys, 76,000 hours of pro bono was reported by attorneys in Ohio, and that served, there was pro bono done in all 88 counties. So although we have served the whole state, this number of pro bono hours reported actually decreased this past year. And so we are trying to find new ways to engage the profession, and especially engage new legal professionals into pro bono. Okay. So I am not going through the Ohio Rules of Professional Conduct. I'm not going to read it through, but just to know that the Rules of Professional Conduct, they do state that we have a special duty to seek improvement of the law and access to the legal system. There's also a duty in Rule 6.2, as well as Model Rule 6.1. And so the requirement that the ABA has put on attorneys is not the requirement, but the guideline that we should be following is to try to do 50 hours of pro bono a year. I would encourage everyone on this call to also try to engage in pro bono. And I know I hear the 50 hours a year, and I think, like, that seems like a lot. But I also have done the math, and 50 hours of pro bono is 1 hour a week. I think that's right. Can someone check me on my math? Is that right? It's a little less than 1 hour a week. So I think that's pretty doable. But now we need to figure out what you can do for pro bono and how to get started. So can I ask how many folks here have participated in the PACO Wills clinics before?
I have.
Okay.
Angie has. Randy has. Sorry, I don't mean to speak for them all. I just don't know if they are answering.
No, that's great. Samantha, thank you for that. That's great. Oh yeah, we're getting some in the chat. Okay, so most of you have, it seems like, done this pro bono. So you already know that the appreciation that these folks have once you've helped them with something like their will or their POAs and things like that. So for attorneys, we like to separate it into 4 different types of volunteering. So we have the full representation, where they take cases from beginning to end. And then there's the limited representation. So you only do a limited scope of the part of the case. Then there's brief advice, which is similar to the clinics that you guys do for the wills. It's just you're helping the client for that clinic time only, and there's no attachment of attorney-client relationship after the clinic. And then since COVID, there are opportunities for both in-person and virtual options. So there are lots of benefits of volunteering too. I would like to, if someone could tell me, is there a CLE requirement for all of you, and what is that requirement?
The only CLE requirement for paralegals is paralegals who hold credentials such as the OSBA certified paralegal, or paralegals who have taken the exams under NFPA or another organization. And each organization has their own requirements for CLEs. OSBA certified paralegals, I believe it is 12 CLE hours over a rolling 2-year calendar. And I believe that there is, I think 2.5 hours has to be in ethics or professional development.
Gotcha.
It does not require pro bono CLEs, but those are accepted. And I know that with the Wills Clinic, you can convert your hours of volunteering towards your CLE credits.
That's great. Yeah, that was going to be my next question, to see if you could convert pro bono hours into CLE. And that's one of the more recent developments that we've implemented in Ohio, just trying to increase volunteerism for those who still need CLE. Unfortunately, the ratio here is still pretty tough: 6 hours of pro bono for 1 hour of CLE. But it's we're happy to just have this in place because it is better than nothing. But one thing that I wanted to emphasize on this slide is the opportunity to learn new areas of law. I will say that in the 5 years that I have been at the foundation, I think I have learned more legal areas of law than I ever thought I would. And also just it's definitely areas that I feel like make the most impact in people's lives. So who here has heard about the Ohio Justice Bus? I hope everyone has, because we've been working really hard trying to get the word out and going to clinics all around the state. So, I'm so happy to hear that people have. So the Ohio Justice Bus was one of the projects that came out of the foundation and was launched right before COVID hit. So it kind of had a little bit of a rough start, but we have continued to run about 3 to 4 clinics a week. And I'm sure you have seen also that we have done Wills clinics with PAYCO as well last year, and then this year as well. And we continue to try to find ways to utilize attorneys, paralegals, students in our clinics, just because there are areas. One of the reasons the bus was created was because there are areas in Ohio who don't have access to internet and or computers or things like that, where they can't access forms that they need necessarily. And also they don't have the transportation to maybe get to the next county over that has an attorney that can help them with the issue that they're going through. So the bus serves in as a twofold, to bring the technology and to bring the attorneys to underserved Ohioans. We have had a lot of great volunteers, attorneys, both in person and virtual, and have just, I think we're at 65 counties that we've hit out of the 88. And so we're just our goal is to keep on chugging along, hopefully getting to the 88 counties and serving all of them. So if you are interested, and I, of course, always encourage folks to volunteer for legal aid as well. But if you're interested in volunteering for any of the clinics that the bus does, you can sign up at our website and just let us know what types of clinics you're interested in. So like with family law, if that's what you are you know and are interested in, you can say, I'm interested in family law clinics. That tends to be the most requested issue for the clinics that we run at the bus. It's usually related to custody and divorce. But we do everything. We do record sealing. We did the driver's license reinstatement clinic just on Tuesday at the Glenwood Community Center. And so, yeah, any volunteer is appreciated, and we would love to have you. Okay. And then I also wanted to share that there are some statewide pro bono opportunities that you may not have been aware of. And that is Equality Ohio, that serves LGBTQ communities, and then Pro Seniors down in Southwest Ohio, who serves folks who are 60 or older. They both utilize paralegal volunteers as well. And so if you have a special place in your heart for seniors, you can always specifically volunteer for Pro Seniors to help that population. I will also say, if you're more of a transactional paralegal, there is an organization called Pro Bono Partnership, and they are in Southwest Ohio, but they serve, they use volunteers from all across the state. And so what they do is they provide pro bono service related to nonprofit organizations, helping them with their incorporation documents and employment manuals, things like that. So if that's kind of the area you're practicing in or are interested in, that's a good organization to reach out to. And I have contacts at all of these locations, at all of these organizations on the screen. So if you're interested in something specific, feel free to reach out to me and I can connect you with the right person. Okay, so opportunities for paralegals. We have already talked about these Wheels clinics. There are also record sealing clinics. Have people participated in those before? Okay, so for record sealing clinics, there's a lot of pre-work that goes into these clinics because the record sealing law is a little bit complicated as to what can and cannot be sealed or expunged. And then there's certain timeframes that people have to wait in order to get things sealed or expunged. So for instance, the bus is doing a record sealing clinic on Tuesday up in Cleveland, and everyone who pre-registers, we have to go into the court system, the docket, see what charges they had when they paid off all their fines and fees and things like that, and do these calculations to see if they're eligible for record sealing. And then if they are eligible, we can help them complete the forms that they have to file. So there's a lot of work that can be done prior, and it's the most important part of actually record sealing clinics is that pre-work. So that's one thing that if you're interested in helping in that way, we would love to have you as a volunteer. We did a record sealing clinic in Columbus with legal aid at Milo Grogan just maybe a month ago, and I think they often utilize paralegals for preparation of that clinic as well. The next thing is the jail time credit cases, and I don't remember if anyone here was part of that discussion last time, but we had talked with the public defender's office, and they were saying that they wanting to do more jail time credit cases. And jail time credit cases are cases where people who are in prison, they think that their times in other facilities or at jail, pretrial, things like that, they weren't calculated properly. So they've been sentenced for a longer time than they actually should be in prison. And so the PD's office gets a lot of letters that say, hey, I was in this facility from here this time and this time, and they didn't count that in my calculation. And what the PD's office has to do is they have to go and research it, call the court or the facility and be like, can you verify he was here from there this time to this time, things like that. And oftentimes there are cases where folks their last day of their sentence is actually like 60 days more or past when they really have to be in jail based on the original sentence. And so if it's really beneficial in a lot of ways for the client, but it's also beneficial for the state because they don't have to pay for this person to be there for longer than they have to. So I will say we started this project, I want to maybe a little bit after COVID. And it kind of fizzled down because there was like a lag between getting cases and then a lot of folks, some people who had taken cases moved and there's a lot of transition. And so right now this project isn't currently happening, but I did want to bring it up in case there was interest from folks on this call to do something like the jail time credit cases. Because if there is, then I can reach out to the PD's office again and see if they can, start sending those cases my way, and then I can have one of you or some of the paralegal volunteers start looking at it. So I will say this area of law, I know it might seem a little niche, but my contact at the PD's office is always willing to answer questions. I'm always willing to answer questions and help with, trying to figure out if there is actual jail time credit. And then they also have a very simple motion that can be filed. And so we volunteers, would draft that motion, and then the PD's office would ultimately be the ones who would submit the motion on their behalf. Without us doing it, the volume of cases that they get at the PD's office is too high to do all the ones that have merit. Yes, we do have a training. We have a question here about training like the Wills Clinic. Yes, there's actually a training on YouTube that was done by Katie Kinsey Ross, who is my contact at the PD's office. Is very good training. Is an hour, and then but that goes very clearly through the whole process of how to determine whether or not someone has credit that hasn't been applied to their sentence yet. Okay, this is the most interactive portion. What else? And I would love to just hear from some of you about things that you may have been thinking about, an area of law where you are like, I wonder if people are doing this, or I wonder if this is something that we could do as a group in terms of pro bono, because I think I do not have that ability, Angie, unfortunately. But yeah, because I do want to do I think programs are better when they have buy-in from the folks who are participating in it. And so it would be great to hear some ideas that you may have. And I know I'm putting you on the spot as well. So if you don't have an idea now, if you're driving home from work today and something pops in, feel free to email me and we can work together to try to get these programs together. I know the Pig Wills Clinic didn't happen overnight. But we are always, willing to work and try to grow something so it becomes as successful as those clinics. So yes, Laurel, you have a comment. Immigration issues such as green cards and jobs. That's great. So actually, I will say the foundation has been focusing on immigration recently in a little bit of a different avenue. We have had a lot of populations come to Ohio in the past year, 2 years that have had a lot of needs for asylum. So we had originally the Afghans come, the Ukrainians, then there were Haitians, and now we're working with Mauritanian asylum seekers. And so we actually have a need right now in Columbus. We had a education session, an initial session with some Mauritanian immigrants who need help with their asylum cases last week. But the real part of the clinic, the filling out of forms and things, that part of the clinic is actually coming up on, and let me get a date so you can put it on your calendars. Let's see. Monday, November 13th at Vineyard Columbus, and it'll probably be a 9 to 2 clinic, but paralegals, we welcome paralegals to volunteer at this clinic. Yeah, that's great. So if you want to get on that listserv for volunteering for that clinic, just feel free to send me an email and I will get you connected and on that mailing list. We also plan to have these clinics quarterly moving forward. And so there's also going to be one in February if you're not available to do the one in November. Are there other areas of law or anything that you all are interested in? Okay. Well, like I said before, if something comes to you, please feel free to reach out.
Sophia, I would also suggest that when you do have opportunities coming up, if you would pass that information to me, we can get that information put out in our weekly news email so that our members can be aware of the opportunities and the need that is out there. And then they would be able to, sign up as they're able.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can definitely do that. And Angie, are you the person to disseminate the information then? Or
Yes.
is there someone in charge of the newsletter? Okay.
Yes, that would come to me.
Okay, perfect. Oh, this is great. Education IEPs, 504, huge. Yes, it is a huge need around Columbus and surrounding cities. So with that, that's actually a really great question. I know that, or a great idea. I know that we had, at least the bus had been in talks with Fairfield County and their school district about doing a clinic for families who might need IEPs. And that might be something that we can revisit, but I know for sure that Columbus, their education section does do that kind of work. And I wonder if maybe what we can do is get together. And I'm not sure, is USLAAND too. If you want to email me with your information, we might be able to get a call together to see kind of what that would look like. And then for Marianne, yes, our website has, for the bus at least, has all the events listed. Oh, perfect. And let me actually, I don't know if I can, when I'm presenting, I can't go online, but let me use my phone to get to our calendar. We do have clinics in the Central Ohio area. We have actually one in Delaware at Andrew's house for family law every first Thursday of the month. So that is one that we do around the Columbus area every month. And then I can send, I think it might be easiest for me to just send the opportunities from Central Ohio to Angie, because there are probably opportunities outside of the bus that you would be able to sign up for. We are working with the OSBA, if you're members of the OSBA, to create a page for specific opportunities that you can, so it will list the opportunity, what type of law, when it is, in what format, and you'll be able to sign up for it right from the site. So that should be coming in the short future. And when that site is completed, I can also send that over to all of you. And so every once in a while, if you want to pop in and say, hey, oh, I see an asylum case that I want to volunteer for, and you can just click the button to sign up. Okay. Anything else? And I might need to, I'm going to save this chat so I have people's email addresses and okay. So the last thing I wanted to mention were other ways that you can help. So there are definitely, let me see. Sorry, I'm trying to say this in a PC way. We know that sometimes attorneys really, really heavily rely on their staff and their paralegals on very important things. And you guys really are like the backbone of a lot of small firms and legal departments. And so one thing that you can do in that role is to encourage other folks in your department to do pro bono service. I think it's always more beneficial or persuasive when someone you know actually asks and says, hey, this is an important thing that you need to do. And so I would encourage all of you to reach out to your professional networks and to encourage pro bono. I also, for those who do work at in corporations, in corporate legal offices, there are statuses for attorneys there who, for a very long time, people who are in-house were not able to do pro bono, but there is an exception, a rule change that happened a while back that does allow corporate in-house attorneys to do pro bono. However, that word didn't get spread as much as we wanted. And so a lot of corporate attorneys still think that they can't do pro bono, but they can. So if you work in that setting, please encourage your colleagues to do pro bono. And we have this thing also called emeritus status. This is for people who are retired. So if you know anyone who's retired and they think they can't practice law anymore, there is a special status for retired attorneys who want to do pro bono. And then the last thing we already touched on a little bit was the CLE for pro bono, which I'm glad that you can also get. And then finally, the Bank on Justice Prime Partner Program is for folks who have IOLTA accounts, so people who are at firms and things like that. You're either the firm or your attorney that you work for has an interest on lawyers' trust account. That interest actually is part of the funding that the foundation gets to be able to fund legal aid and other civil legal providers. So we always encourage them to either have their bank, if they're not a prime partner, we call them prime partners, to join the program. And so that has a higher interest rate on the lawyers' accounts. And so then we would have more money to distribute to provide legal services to low-income Ohioans. If you have any questions about any of those, please let me know. And then that's all I have for you. And I will stop sharing. And then maybe I can see all the folks who, okay. Well, there are a lot more people on this presentation than I could see. But that's great. And I really hope that you'll take the information you learned today to heart, and that you really do take my invitation as well to send me ideas and to collaborate to make sure that opportunities are created or exist that are of interest to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia. We appreciate your being here today and sharing your wealth of knowledge on this topic with us. I know that our members do have a large interest in pro bono services, and so this was very, very good information for us to be able to present to our members.
Great.
Does anybody have any questions or comments for Sophia? Okay, well, hearing none, yeah. I would again thank you, Sophia, for joining us today and sharing your time and your expertise. And we would want to thank Anderson Reporting for providing today's Zoom link and recording today's session. Today's session will be posted on the website in the next few weeks. So if you'd like to go back and rewatch, you certainly may. And with that, I will give you back the last 5 minutes of your lunch hour. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Thank you. I look forward to working with all of you soon.
Thank you so much, Sophia. That was really great. I love the other opportunities besides the Wills Clinic. Good to know.
Bye, everyone.